The first humans to set foot on Lyrian could hardly believe what they saw. The planet was bathed in a soft, emerald light that seemed to come from the very air itself. Trees with translucent leaves swayed gently, though there was no visible wind. Rivers shimmered in colors that humans had no names for, and the skies were streaked with two suns that danced around each other in slow circles. Captain Alina Mercer stood at the edge of their landing site, her helmet open so she could breathe the filtered atmosphere. She could hardly believe the beauty around her. "This place, it's incredible," she said almost to herself. Her voice carried over the comms, but the others were too busy examining the soil and the strange plants to respond immediately. Doctor. Malik, their lead xenobiologist, was already kneeling near a glowing flower, carefully noting its reactions to touch. "The plant reacts to pressure changes in the air. Incredible sensitivity," he muttered. The landing party had been sent to Lyrian after receiving signals that suggested the planet might harbor intelligent life. They had assumed that the first life they would meet would be cautious, perhaps hiding, maybe even hostile. But they had not expected Zara. Zara appeared quietly from between two massive glowing trees. She was small and nimble, moving with the kind of grace that seemed impossible for any being with a humanoid shape. Her skin shimmered faintly in shades of lavender and silver, and her eyes were enormous, deep pools of color that seemed to reflect the light of the suns. But what caught everyone's attention immediately were the two large fruits she hugged tightly to her chest. They were round, almost the size of a human head, and glowed with the same soft light as the planet itself. "I know humans love melons," she said, her voice high-pitched and musical. She hugged the fruits even closer as if she were protecting them. The humans froze, unsure if she was joking or if this was some strange ritual. Captain Mercer stepped forward cautiously, raising her hand in a universal gesture of peace. "Hello, I'm Alina. We come in friendship," she said, her voice calm but firm. Zara tilted her head, her large eyes blinking curiously. Then she bounced a little, clearly excited. "You like melons?" she asked again, pointing to the glowing fruits. Dr. Malik exchanged a glance with Alina, and both of them stifled a laugh. "Well, humans do love melons," Malik said, "but I don't think we expected you to carry them around like that." They had traveled across the galaxy expecting alien life to be strange, maybe even hostile. Instead, they found this small, cheerful creature who thought glowing fruits were her friends and that humans might like them too. There was no fear, no tension, just curiosity and joy. Alina took a careful step forward. Could we see more of your world?" she asked. Zara nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, come, I show you." She ran ahead, the glowing melons bouncing slightly with each step. The humans followed, their senses overwhelmed by the beauty and strangeness around them. As they walked, Zara spoke rapidly in her own language, which the humans could not understand. Yet somehow the tone alone conveyed excitement, laughter, and an uncontainable curiosity. Malik noted in his datapad that her vocal range was wider than any human's and carried subtle frequencies that seemed to resonate with the plants. The humans realized that communication would take time, but they also realized that this was a being who wanted to communicate. The terrain shifted as they moved deeper into the forest. Trees grew taller and more translucent, their roots forming natural bridges over the glowing rivers. Occasionally, small creatures darted past, shimmering with the same light as the environment, vanishing before the humans could get a clear view. Alina could not suppress a grin. "This is like nothing we've ever seen," she murmured. Finally, Zara led them to a small clearing. The light here was brighter, as if the suns themselves were smiling down. In the center were more glowing fruits, arranged in neat piles, with several other small figures similar to Zara playing and laughing around them. When they saw the humans, they froze for a moment, their large eyes studying the newcomers carefully. Then, as if remembering some instinct, they returned to their games, though always keeping one eye on the visitors. Zara carefully set down her melons and gestured for the humans to approach. "Eat, try, melons," she insisted, pointing to the fruits that she had brought. Alina exchanged a glance with Malik. "I think she wants us to taste them," she said. She took one carefully, noting that it was surprisingly warm to the touch. The surface was smooth and soft, and when she bit into it, the flavor exploded in her mouth. Sweet, tangy, almost glowing in taste the way it seemed to glow in her hand. Malik followed suit, and soon both humans were marveling at the sensation. "They're amazing," Malik said, unable to stop smiling. "Nutrient content must be extraordinary, some sort of natural energy storage system. You're very brave to meet us." The humans stayed in the clearing for hours, tasting the fruits, watching the small creatures play, and trying to understand Zara's world. Every sense was overwhelmed: sight, smell, touch, taste, and even hearing. The entire environment seemed alive, responsive to them, and yet completely alien. As the suns began to set, casting long, shimmering shadows, Zara tugged gently at Alina's hand. "Show, Sky," she insisted. The humans followed, and soon they were standing on a high plateau, overlooking a valley filled with luminescent plants that glowed even as darkness fell. Streams of light danced across the valley floor, reflecting in the rivers and lakes, making the scene look like a painting in motion. "Unbelievable," Alina whispered. She had seen many beautiful things on Earth, but this was another universe entirely. Malik simply shook his head, his notebook forgotten at his feet. Zara smiled at them, hugging her melons one last time for the day. "Humans happy?" she asked. "Yes," Alina said, smiling. "Very happy. You've made our first day here unforgettable." Instead, they had found friendship, laughter, and a glimpse of a civilization so different, and yet so full of warmth that it reminded them why humans had always reached for the stars. Curiosity, courage, and the unending hope of meeting others and sharing the wonders of the universe. That night, as the glowing plants around their camp pulsed softly, Alina couldn't help but think that perhaps the first humans on Lyrian had discovered something far more valuable than any scientific breakthrough. They had discovered connection. And sometimes, she thought with a smile, it comes in the form of a small alien girl hugging glowing melons and saying, quite sincerely, "I know humans love melons." Lyrian was only the beginning, and already it had changed the way they thought about life, connection, and what it truly meant to be human. The next morning, the suns of Lyrian rose slowly, spilling pale green and gold light across the glowing forests. The humans awoke to the sound of small, chattering voices and the soft hum of the luminescent plants. Zara was already awake, bouncing around with her usual energy, her melons tucked under her arms as if they were part of her. She spotted the humans stirring from their camp and squealed happily. "Wake, wake, humans, morning fun!" she shouted, running toward them. Her small legs moved so fast that Alina could barely follow her with her eyes. Malik chuckled, rubbing his eyes. "This one, she never sleeps, I think," he muttered. Zara stopped in front of Alina, holding out her melons like a gift. "Breakfast, eat, give energy," she said. Humans had learned quickly that when Zara said energy, she meant the melons were edible and nourishing. Alina took one carefully, remembering how sweet and refreshing it had been yesterday. Malik grabbed another. The taste was even better in the morning, somehow sweeter and lighter, as if the fruits themselves were aware of the day's new light. As they ate, Zara jabbered happily in her own language. Though the humans could not understand the words, her gestures made it clear that she wanted to show them something special. She darted ahead, motioning for them to follow. They came to a section of the forest where the trees grew taller and closer together. Their trunks were transparent, and through them, the humans could see the roots and water channels twisting like crystal rivers below the surface. It was here that Zara stopped and gestured to a curious plant. It had soft, flexible stalks that moved in waves, almost like they were dancing. At the top, small flowers opened and closed rhythmically, casting light across the clearing. Malik knelt down, fascinated. "Photosensitive, I think," he said. "It reacts to the movement of light and possibly to sound. Incredible." Tentatively, Alina moved her arms in the gentle rhythm of the plants, swaying. Malik followed, imitating her movements. To their surprise, the plants reacted to the humans, bending and twirling in synchrony with their motions. Zara laughed, a melodic sound that echoed through the clearing. She threw her melons in the air, caught them expertly, and twirled around with delight. For a moment, the humans felt completely free from their duties, their worries, and the weight of interstellar travel. They were simply humans in an alien world, dancing with plants and a small alien girl who radiated joy. After a while, Zara led them deeper into the forest, toward what appeared to be a small village built into the massive roots of the trees. Houses made of natural materials twisted around the roots and glowed softly from bioluminescent moss. Small bridges connected the houses, and tiny creatures darted across them, carrying glowing fruits or weaving intricate patterns in the moss. The humans noticed that the villagers were all watching them curiously. Some came closer, small hands extended in greeting. Others stayed back, whispering among themselves. Zara waved at them and shouted something in her language. After a moment, a slightly taller figure emerged, a young adult alien who seemed to be in charge. She looked at the humans carefully, her large eyes scanning them from head to toe. Zara ran to the figure, holding up her melons proudly. "Friends, humans friends, good, eat," she said. The figure nodded slowly and approached Alina and Malik. She spoke in a melodic tone that the translators struggled with, but through gestures and a few broken words, the humans understood that this alien, named Lyra, was curious but cautious. She wanted to know why the humans had come and whether they could be trusted. Alina stepped forward. "We come in peace," she said. "We want to learn about your world, your people, and to share knowledge with you." Adults tended to glowing gardens, harvesting the luminous fruits that seemed similar to Zara's melons. Others were working on structures that seemed alive, bending, and growing according to the needs of the inhabitants. Malik whispered to Alina, "Their technology, it's all biological. Everything grows, changes, adapts. It's incredible." Humans often thought of advanced technology as metal and circuits, but here, on Lyrian, living systems had replaced machines entirely. Yet there was intelligence in it, careful, creative intelligence. Humans could learn a lot from this. Zara suddenly stopped and pointed toward a river. It was wider than any river on Earth, flowing with a liquid that glimmered like liquid crystal. Tiny floating creatures skimmed the surface, glowing faintly. Zara picked up a melon and tossed it into the water. Instantly, a small group of creatures swirled around the melon, guiding it down the river as if delivering it safely somewhere. Alina gasped. They use the melons to communicate or guide the creatures?" she asked. Malik nodded, scribbling notes. "Some kind of symbiotic system. The fruit carries signals or energy that the creatures respond to. Brilliant adaptation." They watched as Zara and other young aliens tended to the fruits, carefully protecting them and using them to power small devices and tools. Humans marveled at the efficiency and ingenuity of it all. By afternoon, the suns began to shift toward the horizon, and a soft mist rolled over the forest. Zara tugged at Alina's hand again, insisting that she and Malik follow her to a hidden area she had found earlier. They moved cautiously, noticing how alert the villagers had become. There was something about this area that even Zara seemed to respect, though she moved with her usual cheer. Finally, they arrived at a small clearing where the plants glowed brighter than anywhere else. The air was warm and thick, almost sweet with scent. At the center of the clearing was a large, ancient tree, its trunk wide enough to hide several humans behind it. Zara carefully placed her melons on the ground and stepped back. She stared at the tree, her eyes wide with reverence. Alina and Malik approached slowly. Malik whispered, "It's huge, older than any human city, probably older than any tree on Earth." Malik joined them, and together they realized that the tree was not just alive. It was intelligent, aware of them, and possibly the source of the village's glowing energy. Zara smiled at them, hugging her melons again. Friends safe, humans friends too. They had expected to explore a new world, but here they were being welcomed into a living, breathing culture that valued curiosity, cooperation, and respect for life. As evening fell, Lyra appeared again, watching from a distance. She did not speak, but her presence was not threatening. Instead, it felt like cautious approval. Humans realized that trust was being built, not demanded, not forced, but earned slowly through shared respect and openness. Alina looked at Malik. This is exactly why we explore, not just for science, but for understanding, for connection, for moments like this. They're symbols, tools, even communication. They show how advanced thought doesn't need metal or circuits. Life itself can be clever enough to do amazing things. As they prepared for rest, they reflected on the day's experiences. They had been welcomed by a species so unlike humans, yet so capable of warmth and intelligence that it made them rethink everything they knew about life. Alina settled on the soft moss floor, looking up at the glowing canopy above. Malik scribbled one last note in his datapad, then leaned back. Both were silent for a moment, listening to the forest hum and Zara's quiet chatter as she tucked herself near her melons. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. Humans had arrived to study a planet, but instead they were discovering a philosophy of life, one of curiosity, friendship, and harmony with the world. And at the heart of it all was a small alien girl who hugged her glowing melons and insisted that humans were friends, simply because they were willing to see and respect her world. The stars of Lyrian shone above them in unfamiliar constellations, but beneath them, humans and aliens alike rested, ready for whatever adventures the next day might bring. The forest seemed to pulse with possibility, and the humans knew with quiet certainty that they were about to learn lessons that would change them forever. The morning on Lyrian began quietly, with soft green light spilling over the forest like liquid jade. Humans had learned to wake slowly here, letting the planet's rhythm guide them. Yet there was no slowing Zara. She was already bouncing around the camp, clutching her glowing melons, her laughter ringing through the trees like wind chimes. Wake up, humans adventure!" she shouted, twirling in excitement. Alina smiled despite the morning chill. She stretched and carefully removed a piece of moss from her sleeve. "It's going to be another long day," she said. Malik groaned from where he lay half-covered by glowing ferns. "Long day? Every day is long with this one," he muttered, glancing at Zara. Zara ran ahead, gesturing for them to follow her into a dense part of the forest they had not yet explored. Her energy was unstoppable, and the humans followed, careful not to lose sight of her among the towering, translucent trees. The air grew warmer as they walked, and a faint hum began to resonate through the forest floor. Malik paused, kneeling to examine the moss and vines. "These plants, they react to movement. The forest itself seems aware," he whispered. Alina looked up and saw tiny lights drifting above the trees. At first, she thought they were fireflies, but closer inspection revealed that they were creatures of light, almost invisible during the day, becoming luminescent as the suns climbed higher. Zara led them to a wide clearing where a river of crystal-clear water reflected the suns like mirrors. Strange, small animals darted along the edges, skimming across the surface, leaving trails of faint light behind. Zara pointed to a small boat-like structure carved from living wood, glowing faintly along its edges. "Ride, river," she exclaimed. Alina looked at Malik. "Do you think it's safe?" she asked quietly. Malik shrugged but smiled. "It's either safe or it's exactly the kind of adventure we came for," he said. With Zara's encouragement, the humans stepped onto the living vessel. It responded immediately, shifting and bending slightly under their weight before gliding smoothly along the river. The sensation was unlike anything they had felt before. It was alive and intelligent in some way, moving with a mind of its own but guided by the will of those aboard. As they floated down the river, the forest around them began to change. The trees became taller and closer together, their leaves forming a dense canopy that filtered the sunlight into soft, shifting patterns. Occasionally, creatures emerged to greet them, tiny, floating orbs of light that circled the vessel before darting away. Zara laughed with delight at every encounter, tossing a melon gently toward the creatures, who seemed to react with curiosity and joy. Suddenly, the current picked up. The river narrowed and twisted sharply, the boat bumping against roots and rocks that seemed to have grown specifically to challenge travelers. Alina gripped the edges, her heart racing, while Malik held on tightly. Zara, however, seemed to know exactly what to do. She shifted her weight lightly, and the vessel responded, avoiding obstacles with incredible precision. Alina realized something important in that moment. Humans had come to Lyrian prepared to study, to observe, to learn, but the planet itself demanded respect and adaptability. It wasn't enough to understand. They had to move with it, think with it, and react with ingenuity. As they rounded a particularly sharp bend, a sudden wall of mist rose from the river. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Alina could barely see Malik, and Zara's glowing melons provided the only light. Then, through the mist, came the sound of rushing water, a roar that made their hearts pound. The river had widened abruptly, forming a hidden waterfall. The current pulled at the vessel, trying to drag them toward the edge. Alina's training kicked in immediately. "Malik, shift your weight to the left." "Zara, lean with me," she shouted. Together, the three of them adjusted, trying to guide the vessel away from danger. Zara's small hands gripped the edge, her face set in concentration. "Go, fast, humans work," she yelled. Her words, though broken, carried authority, and somehow the living vessel seemed to respond to her excitement as much as to the humans' actions. With a combination of human ingenuity and Zara's instinctive knowledge of her world, they managed to steer away from the waterfall's edge, the current snapping past them with immense force. The vessel shuddered, then settled in calmer water downstream. Alina exhaled, her knees weak. Malik laughed nervously. "I think we just survived our first Lyrian challenge," he said. Zara bounced on her toes, clearly proud. "Yes, humans brave, melons help too." She hugged her glowing fruits, which seemed to pulse faintly, as if acknowledging their shared triumph. Once they regained their composure, they continued down the river, eventually reaching a calm area where the water widened into a shallow lagoon. Here, the villagers were waiting, watching intently. Lyra appeared as well, her expression unreadable, though the humans sensed approval in her gaze. Alina stepped onto the riverbank, brushing herself off. "That was amazing," she said. Malik nodded, still catching his breath. And terrifying, but incredible. The planet itself is alive, and it's testing us in ways we never expected. Humans, smart? Her excitement was infectious. The villagers began to approach slowly, offering more glowing fruits. The humans accepted them gratefully, realizing that these were not only gifts but symbols of respect and trust. After a brief rest, Zara led the humans to a new area. Here, the forest opened into a large field of enormous, glowing flowers. Their petals were the size of humans, and their stems swayed as if moved by invisible hands. As they walked among them, the flowers began to react to their presence. Some tilted toward the humans, others opened and closed rhythmically, creating waves of light and color. Malik knelt to examine the petals. These flowers, they respond to energy and motion. And the glowing melons, they seem to influence them as well. I've never seen anything like this. Not good seismic activity. The humans followed her lead as she darted through the field, weaving between massive stems that threatened to crush them. The villagers joined in, guiding children and weaker individuals towards safer areas. Alina quickly realized that this was no ordinary storm. It was a natural hazard, amplified perhaps by the energy of the glowing plants themselves. She shouted instructions to Malik as they ran. Use the melons, cover the children, keep moving. Alina and Malik worked with her, placing the fruits and adjusting their positions as the tremors continued. After what felt like an eternity, the shaking subsided. The forest was quiet, save for the soft hum of the recovering plants. The humans looked around in awe. Though some flowers were broken, many had survived, and the villagers were unharmed, thanks to Zara's quick thinking and the humans' ability to adapt. Alina knelt next to the small alien girl. You saved many lives today," she said softly. Zara's eyes glimmered with pride. "We worked together, humans clever, melons help, friends safe." It was all of us working together. Humans, aliens, the forest too. Every lesson they learned reinforced the idea that human ingenuity, when combined with the unique qualities of Lyrian, could achieve incredible results. As evening fell, the survivors gathered near the ancient tree that Zara revered. The humans, exhausted but exhilarated, reflected on the day. They had faced danger, adapted quickly, and used both intellect and cooperation to survive. And they had been reminded again why humans reached for the stars: courage, curiosity, and the ability to work together to solve unexpected problems. Zara hugged her melons once more, placing them gently on the ground before resting her small head on one. "Humans, good, brave, friends," she said, her voice calm now, tired but happy. Alina smiled. "Yes, Zara, we are friends. And we've learned so much today, not just about your planet, but about ourselves, about humans." They had survived, learned, and bonded. And as Zara whispered to her melons, the humans realized that this was only the beginning of their adventure on Lyrian, a world that was alive, intelligent, and full of lessons for those brave enough to explore it. The day after the storm, Lyrian seemed to hum with quiet energy. The forest, though scarred in places, had begun to heal itself. Trees stretched taller, leaves shimmered brighter, and the rivers flowed smoother, as if the planet itself had adjusted to the challenge. Humans woke to this soft, alive world, feeling both awe and responsibility. They knew that the day would demand more than observation. It would demand cooperation, ingenuity, and trust. Zara was already awake, her melons glowing faintly in the early light. She bounced around the humans, insisting they rise quickly. "Humans, humans, today, big work, help friends," she exclaimed, gesturing broadly toward the village. Alina stretched and looked out at the glowing forest. The storm had left some of the larger tree roots unstable, and a few bridges connecting homes were damaged. "Looks like we're needed," she said. Malik nodded, his notebook ready, already making calculations in his mind. "We can help reinforce structures, maybe even use the melon's energy for stabilization. That's if the locals allow it." The villagers watched from a distance, curious, cautious, but willing to accept the humans' aid if they proved themselves. Alina approached Lyra, who was observing quietly. "We want to help repair your village," Alina said. "We've seen how clever your people are. Maybe we can combine our skills." She gestured to several damaged homes and broken bridges. "Humans work, careful, we trust, attempt," she said. Her tone was cautious but approving. Zara jumped and clapped her hands. "Yes, together work, humans smart." She gathered the glowing melons and distributed them among the humans and villagers alike. "Energy use. We can channel it through structures to stabilize them temporarily while we make repairs. It's like using a battery to hold something in place while we fix it." Some of the younger aliens worked eagerly alongside them, following Zara's guidance. Slowly but surely, the damaged areas began to regain stability. The melons pulsed faintly with energy, reacting to the repairs and providing feedback. Every pulse seemed to synchronize with the humans' careful adjustments, as if the planet itself approved of their work. Malik was fascinated by the melons' behavior. "It's as if they respond not just to pressure or weight, but to intent," he said. "They know we're trying to help, they cooperate." Alina realized that Zara's people had lived in harmony with their world for generations, understanding energy, structure, and life in ways humans were only beginning to grasp. By midday, much of the village had been stabilized. Bridges could support weight again, and tree homes were secure. The villagers were clearly impressed by the humans' careful planning and the clever integration of melon energy. Even Lyra nodded occasionally, a sign of quiet approval that did not go unnoticed. "Humans, clever," Zara said repeatedly, bouncing with excitement. "Work strong, friends safe." Humans and aliens, learning from each other. Malik studied the area carefully. "If we can channel melon energy into a temporary field, we can stabilize the plants while the villagers repair them," he said. "It's delicate work, too much interference and we could harm them." Alina coordinated placements of melons around the damaged plants, Malik monitored energy levels, and Zara guided the younger aliens in careful adjustments. For hours, they worked side by side, communicating without words at times, using gestures, instincts, and shared focus. Slowly, the garden began to respond. Energy pulsed through the melons, flowing into the damaged plants. Stems straightened, leaves reoriented, and flowers reopened. The entire garden seemed to breathe again, glowing brighter than before. The humans watched in amazement. "This is incredible," Malik whispered. "We're not just helping, we're part of this ecosystem, working with it. Humans, we can adapt, think, and work with new worlds, even ones that seem impossible." The villagers gathered around, bringing small glowing fruits to offer the humans as a gesture of gratitude. Lyra stepped forward, bowing slightly. Her approval was clear, and it warmed the humans' hearts. Alina accepted a fruit carefully. "Thank you," she said. "But it's not just us, it's all of us together, humans and aliens. We've learned from each other." Though her words were few, her tone carried respect. Together strong, life stronger. There were no loud festivals, no dramatic ceremonies, only the gentle joy of survival, cooperation, and shared accomplishment. Humans had come to study a planet, and instead they had learned the value of collaboration, respect, and ingenuity. Alina looked at Zara, her small figure glowing in the light of the restored garden. "You've taught us so much," she said softly. "Not just about melons or energy, about courage, curiosity, and working together. That's something uniquely human." Lyrian was not just a planet, it was a teacher. It tested its visitors, challenged them, and rewarded ingenuity, courage, and empathy. Humans had passed, not by brute force or advanced weaponry, but by thinking, observing, and working together. Zara hugged her melons one last time before curling up to rest. The humans settled nearby, feeling a sense of peace and accomplishment. They had faced danger, adapted, and helped a civilization rebuild in harmony with its world. It was a reminder that humans could meet challenges anywhere in the universe and succeed through cooperation, creativity, and respect. As the forest hummed softly around them, Alina realized that humans had only begun to scratch the surface of what they could achieve and what they could learn from Lyrian. The adventure was far from over, but already it had shown that humanity, with its ingenuity and spirit, could not only survive but thrive in even the most alien environments. And at the center of it all was a small alien girl hugging her glowing melons, reminding everyone that friendship, courage, and clever thinking were universal values, ones that transcended worlds and species. The morning sun rose over Lyrian, casting golden-green light across the glowing forest. Humans awoke with a sense of anticipation. Today would not just be another day of learning or repair. Today they felt something extraordinary was about to happen. Zara was already awake, bouncing around with her melons, humming a tune that seemed to blend with the forest itself. "Humans, humans, today, big show," she shouted, spinning in excitement. Alina smiled, rubbing her eyes. The small alien girl's energy was boundless, and it had been a week since their arrival. Humans had learned so much already, about melons, about the living forest, and about the clever ways Lyrian's inhabitants worked together with nature. Malik stretched, checking his datapad. "If today goes the way it seems, we'll witness something incredible." Zara and her people are leading us toward, I don't even know what yet. They had begun to understand the subtle rhythms of Lyrian, the way paths shifted slightly, how plants leaned toward them, and how creatures seemed to guide their steps. Every day had taught them that observing and adapting was not just useful, it was necessary. Soon, they arrived at a large clearing in the heart of the forest. Here, the plants were taller and brighter than anywhere they had seen before. At the center was the ancient tree that Zara revered, its trunk glowing with a soft internal light, roots sprawling in every direction like a natural cathedral. Surrounding it were all the villagers who had come together in quiet anticipation. Even Lyra stood near the tree, her gaze focused, serious but calm. Zara ran to the tree and held her melons to its trunk. "Home, strong, friends safe, humans see," she said. The humans approached carefully, watching as the girl placed her fruits at specific points around the base of the tree. Instantly, the tree seemed to pulse, sending waves of light rippling outward. Alina and Malik stepped closer, marveling at the sight. The tree was ancient, older than any civilization humans had studied, yet it responded to the melons with energy and movement that felt deliberate, intelligent. They could see tiny glowing streams flowing from the fruits into the roots, revitalizing the tree and creating an expanding field of light across the clearing. "This is incredible," Malik whispered. "It's as if the tree is alive in a way we've never seen. It's aware of everything around it, and it's responding to the melons and to Zara." This tremor was calm, measured, almost like a heartbeat. The villagers stepped back respectfully, forming a circle around the humans and Zara. The smaller aliens began to place melons at other points around the clearing, guided by Zara's instructions. With every melon added, the pulses of light grew stronger, spreading across the forest in shimmering waves. Alina realized that this was more than just a natural phenomenon. This was a ritual, a demonstration of trust, unity, and the intelligent use of the planet's resources. Humans had been invited to participate, not merely as observers, but as collaborators. "Look at this," Malik said, pointing at the streams of light flowing from the melons into the tree. "Energy, life, communication. Everything is connected, and humans were part of it." The energy that flowed through it was gentle, almost like a heartbeat, and she could sense the connection forming between the humans, the tree, and the village. The villagers began to hum, a low, melodic sound that seemed to resonate with the forest itself. Zara added her own voice, higher and musical, and soon the humans instinctively joined in. Though they had no words to communicate, the rhythm and energy created a shared understanding. The forest pulsed, the melons glowed brighter, and the tree responded with magnificent radiance, sending streams of light along the roots and into the surrounding plants. Malik's eyes widened. "They've created a living network. Humans are contributing energy, intention, and direction, and the planet is responding. This is collaboration at the highest level, life and intelligence working together." It was as if the entire forest was celebrating, acknowledging the union between humans and Lyrian's inhabitants. Suddenly, the pulse intensified. A larger wave of energy rippled outward, reaching the far edges of the forest. Trees bent gently, streams shimmered with flowing light, and the plants that had been damaged by the storm lifted, their cracks and bends healing before the humans' eyes. The villagers cheered softly, clapping hands and bouncing with excitement. Zara spun in circles, hugging her melons to herself, giggling in pure joy. Alina felt tears prick her eyes. She turned to Malik. "We came here to study a planet, and we've become part of it. Humans truly amazing. We adapt, we observe, we collaborate, and together we can create miracles." "Friends safe, work strong," she said. The humans laughed, joining her in careful placement of melons to reinforce the energy flow. Each melon pulsed in response, creating intricate waves of light that spread across the clearing like a living map. By midday, the ritual was complete. The central tree stood radiant, fully healed, and the surrounding forest glowed with renewed energy. The humans realized that the melons had acted as conduits, not just for nourishment, but for connection, connecting humans, aliens, and the living planet itself. Lyra stepped forward, placing her hands on the tree. Her large eyes softened, and she spoke slowly in words the humans could understand through the translators. "Humans trusted, humans brave, work together. Friends true." As the suns began to set, the forest bathed in warm golden-green light. Humans and aliens gathered around the central tree for a quiet celebration. No speeches were needed. The glowing fruits, the luminous plants, and the radiant forest itself told the story of cooperation, respect, and shared achievement. Alina sat beside Zara, gently touching one of her melons. "You've taught us so much," she said, "about your world, your people, and about ourselves. And we've shown them the same about ourselves." The ancient tree stood tall and radiant, a symbol of unity, resilience, and the power of intelligent cooperation. Zara hugged her melons one last time before curling up to sleep, the humans close by. The night was calm, filled with the hum of life and the soft glow of plants. Elena reflected on the week they had spent on Lyrian. They had come expecting to study a planet, but they had discovered far more: friendship, cooperation, ingenuity, and the limitless potential of working together across species and worlds. Malik whispered to Elena, "We didn't just explore Lyrian, we became part of it. Humans can achieve anything when we are brave, curious, and willing to work together." And perhaps that's the greatest discovery of all. Not the planets, not the creatures, but the strength, intelligence, and courage of humanity itself. A bond had formed, one of respect, understanding, and shared achievement that would last far beyond this single adventure. And at the center of it all was a small alien girl hugging her glowing melons, reminding everyone that friendship, courage, and clever thinking were universal values, capable of healing worlds, building bridges, and inspiring generations. The humans slept under alien stars, dreaming of possibilities, adventures, and new worlds, their hearts filled with pride, not for what they had conquered, but for what they had built together.